Electric cars, I think what a lot of people want to hear. I have like 5 simple points that I hope you take away. One is that battery electric cars and plug-in hybrids are really coming. I think if for those who've been paying attention to the alt-fuel vehicle industry since Nixon said let's get off oil, it's been a pretty sad story. Many false starts, and a lot of the big problems probably is the whole chicken and egg infrastructure thing, which comes first. There's literally all these ethanol-capable cars running around the country, yet there is no ethanol fueling stations. Well, electric has an interesting advantage of having electricity in every home. So, many of the U.S. senators, President Bush, were running around saying, look at this 120-volt infrastructure. That's all you need, and that's true. That's all you need for a plug-in hybrid. And even battery EVs, I think you'd be surprised. 80% of the time, you can get away with just 120-volt household current. And a lot of other reasons, I think, have convinced this. I think that the oil spikes, the climate change issues, the wars that are going on, and as Sarah pointed out, it isn't just happening in the United States, but many other countries that I think help convince the automakers. So we literally have 20 or 30 announced products in the next 5 years. I mean, one way of putting it is when smaller companies like Porsche, Land Rover, and Jaguar say they're coming to market, start paying more attention. And it's equally balanced mostly between plug-in hybrids and battery EVs. I'm not sure all of them are going to come. Some of the announcements may just be for Asia and for Europe. But the point is that they're spending really big bucks. Nissan alone is the most aggressive. They're spending $6 billion. They have 5 battery plants, 2,000 employees, launching in about 20 countries. They're really trying to find the niche markets where they best can go. And Sarah showed you many of those. I'm not going to go into all the details. SCE is doing our part. We're getting ready for plug-in hybrids and helping a lot of the other stakeholders as well get ready. This is a pledge that the Edison Electric Institute did. This is the trade association for all the large utilities in the country. And so that from utility fleets to working on additional incentives to working on collaborating with local officials to get cities and counties and other stakeholders ready, to making sure that we're delivering exceptional customer care on issues from second meters or rates or streamlined installation processes for going and getting your vehicle, to making sure that we're minimizing the impact of plug-in hybrids on the grid as far as transformers and things, and helping the regions develop local infrastructure plans. We're doing all of that, and I don't have time to talk about all of that, but for example, with SCAG, they just agreed to work on a large infrastructure plan with all of the metropolitan planning agencies that would go out from 2014 to 2020 after this initial phase of stimulus money that's already funded and in the process of being deployed. From a consumer perspective, we have a really simple message and a really rather good website. We want you to go and get a checklist to find out what it is like. What do you have to do to prepare yourself? And you can get that at our website. It's a little more complex than buying a regular car. You just don't drive it home and plug it in like you would like with, let's say, a methanol or ethanol car, where it's much simpler because there's a lot of stakeholders are sharing the same customer. You have a city that has to look at your inspection, any work you do to your panel. You have your auto dealers, the regulators, the utilities, the automakers are all involved in the process. It's a little bit more complex than you might think. There's also electric vehicle rates to select. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then you're going to have to hire a contractor if you need any upgrades, because not everybody has 200 amp panels with enough room on your panel. We also have a really terrific, first in the nation, plug-in car rate assistant, where you just answer a few simple questions. How many miles do you drive? When would you like to charge? Anytime or off-peak? What is the price of gasoline you pay? And we'll tell you which is the best rate that you want to get on. Another simple point I'd like to get across is that electrification has large potential. We heard from Sarah that it's 42% of the problem. I think you'd be surprised how much electrification can play a role in being part of the solution. And a lot of people think, oh, I should put solar on my roof, but what do you think has more benefits? Solar on your roof or an electric car in your driveway if you want to reduce CO2? It's about 3-4 times more from that electric car in your driveway. It's really, really dramatic. If you're in another place, we don't have much coal here in the West, at least in California, so that's a large part of why that is. So it's very dramatic, and it also applies to other things like rail and the like. So here's another little factoid going back to the rate calculator, is that if you had a gasoline car at $3 a gallon, 30 miles per gallon, it's about 12 cents a mile. if you go to the rate calculator, you'll generally find that the three different rates we have are going to tell you 2.5 cents to 6 cents a mile. So it's really rather dramatic difference there. The CO2 reductions are also very dramatic. People talk about we have to get to 80%, but electricity here in California has been about 70–75% for almost 20 years. That has the official numbers from the California Resources Board and the California Energy Commission. So it's very large reductions there. And also, a lot of people don't realize this, but the electric sector has been off of oil for a long time. Right after the first oil crisis, all the power plants that were using oil stopped. It basically went from about 30% down to zero here in California. And we've been that way for over 20 years. And also air quality reductions are quite large with electric cars or electric forklifts or other types of technologies. Which maybe brings to this other point, is that there are a lot of other near-term technologies. And you probably heard from AQMD, and they've been going around saying that given all the constraints that they're facing as far as new ozone standards, particulate matter standards, global climate change, that they're going to have to electrify everything. And I think you'd be surprised how large some of the smaller things are, like truck stop electrification, ships plugging into our ports, forklifts and other types of things have been electric for hundreds of years, actually, and you'd be surprised how much. I mean, one forklift is like 10 electric cars, so it starts adding up very, very fast, as well as the refrigeration units that you see on trucks and trains have been electric for years and years, mainly because they have to be when you put them onto a container ship. And one thing that isn't on here is electric trains. That's something that a lot of people don't realize is there's such a thing as a dual-mode locomotive. And they've been around for 100 years, they exist in hundreds of countries. And the neat thing there is you can very slowly electrify, so you can just electrify down at the ports. In other words, you can still change the locomotives in Omaha, which is common practice now, but you could slowly do it through environmental justice areas or over the mountain passes and get enormous amount of benefit and slowly electrify. And it's certainly something that the cost benefits of that should be examined. I'm not saying that it's a definite thing to do, but it's certainly a very interesting technology, and you're going to get similar environmental benefits to the electric cars, and the 70–80% less CO2. An interesting Freightliner, which was owned by Daimler, has proposed something very similar with electric trucks. Basically, you would connect to the overhead wires, but then when you want, you could go off and do like the Terminal Island Freeway or the 710 Freeway. So there's some really creative thinking out there as the region moves forward in looking at sustainability and how we might do this. These things are certainly worth a deeper look. I was very involved in the 90s on this, so I know a lot about it. Another message is that we're here to help. We've had a lot of leadership in the area. The president here speaking at our electric transportation center. We're at the LA Auto Show. We're obviously doing a lot in this area, but also we're not going anywhere. It's not like we can move our business somewhere else. And we're committed to this region. We're a U.S. leader in renewable energy at 17%, and we've been at that number for almost 20 years. We're a recipient of award-winning programs on energy efficiency. And we're very interested in helping the region solve these difficult problems. We had our CTAC Center, which many of you have been to, that helps people understand and use technologies and energy efficiency. And we're also, maybe the last point, willing to sit down with any of you with Mobility 21 on this issue of how to help the region be more competitive. We did that, like I said at the beginning, with T21 and ICE-T. Our executives are on the two different things at the National Transportation Policy Project at the Bipartisan Center, as well as the Energy Commission project they have. So we're very interested in solving our problems, and we have a very big jobs effort with our economic development and jobs teams. There's certainly, even in this tight economic times, there are more federal funds to go after. For example, Clean Cities program, we expect in the next budget year to have money that will be going out that could help prepare cities getting ready. It's very specific, targeted towards electric cars. There are also some other federal programs, don't have time enough to get into them today, but to pay attention to the appropriations process, the R&D process, and I think there's some real opportunities here for our region to become a bigger presence in this area, not only in electric cars, but smart grids, renewables, and some of the other things that we already are excelling in. Thank you.